world changes a lot, and you've got to adapt. And I think that it's the people that adapt, and I heard take action. And pretty much I've been doing that for the last 16, 17 years as an entrepreneur. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put and share the presentation today, which I'm really excited about, which is navigating the future of business in the metaverse. And recently, you know, this whole metaverse has become a massive buzzword, and businesses, investors, and developers said it's the next generation and the third version of the internet. And so yes, so it's really exciting. A lot of people don't understand it, but what I'm going to try and do is to make it as easy, practical, understandable as possible. And it really started in 1992, already with Neil Stephenson's sci-fi novel called Snow Crash. And in his story, the metaverse is a 3D world populated by avatars of people who interact in a range of experiences. Now, I'm actually at the end of this presentation, I'm going to actually show you the metaverse because it's something that you could actually use. Now, we're on the Zoom platform. I've been using this for about 8 years already. A lot of people just learned this in lockdown and in COVID, and I can tell you the world has evolved beyond Zoom. And certainly with the metaverse is going to be the place where people are going to meet and interact in the future. And there's also a movie from Steven Spielberg called Ready Player One. It's a novel by Ernest Cline, which serves as an escape out of a dystopian future. So a lot of people want to get out of the real world and sort of move into an immersive world where they can interact. Now, I heard earlier Margaret was talking about people have this need for more in-person. Yes, absolutely. And the most exciting thing about the metaverse is it gives you that experience of being in person. This is what we call a very static kind of environment where although you can see and hear us and I can display stuff, it really is static. So if we start looking at, you know, how technology has evolved, you know, from the advent of blockchain and cryptocurrencies and hardware networks and artificial intelligence, social media, cloud services, and NFTs, which are non-fungible tokens, which has become a key part of doing transactional. And I'll touch on that a little bit later. So we've seen fintech, and we see where computer programs and other technology used to support and enable banking and traditional. We've seen PropTech, wave of companies using technologies to refine, improve, or reinvent the services for the property industry to buy, rent, or sell, build. And then we've seen, you know, the retail and the growth of e-commerce. And obviously, Margaret is probably can tell us, you know, a little bit about Hirsch's and, you know, their experience certainly with e-commerce. But and then, of course, the advent of the office and work from home, and now it's called work from anywhere because we've seen co-environments sort of increasing, and that could even be a coffee shop or wherever it may be. Work from anywhere, not just from home. I mentioned blockchain. We are on the Zoom platform and Teams, and really, I think the metaverse is really one next level of that. And I think what really happened, we saw just recently, Facebook in the beginning of October really stuck their stake into the ground. And they actually started saying, well, look, we see the metaverse as the future. And so much so, I mean, Facebook changed their name to Meta, and we know they did have a lot of issues, you know, on the Facebook platform in terms of reputation and that kind of stuff. But certainly the future, as they see it, is in the metaverse, and essentially it's a combination of virtual and augmented reality. We saw Google with their eyeglass. And so we've seen a lot of change and a lot of sort of new tech coming our way. So essentially, there's been an evolution, and really where we are right now is we're sitting in a very what we would call a static environment because we can really just share screens and in fact I don't even know if everybody's actually listening to me. And in the metaverse, you can actually drop business cards, you can walk around, you can do all different kinds of things. And so there's many different things. So content is available on static web pages. It did move to dynamic, where it's built users and sites, which allows users to communicate with each other. And that's where we started seeing social web coming in. And then we have the semantic web using artificial intelligence and machine learning. And lastly, spatial web, where we move around in different spaces. So what is this metaverse? And I think, there's a lot of people that talk about the trends and that kind of stuff. And instead of actually talking about the trends and where we're going, we already operate in the metaverse, and I'll share a little bit later in terms of how we're doing that and what we're doing. And this is a platform that we in fact built, where we hosted a conference in the metaverse where everybody had their own avatar and they all checked in. And I'll give you a little bit of a demonstration if there's time at the end. And so really it's an opportunity for people to meet, to network, to interact, to work, to shop. You can actually transact, you can buy, you can actually have fun. It really is, it's a fun way of going to do business. Now, the first people into the metaverse, of course, are your gamers. And we've heard of Fortnite and that game and that kind of stuff, and people wearing 3D glasses. But the metaverse can start off in 2D. We don't see everybody, not everybody wearing 3D glasses in the future. And I'll talk a little bit about that, because we saw Facebook already bought Oculus in 2012. So they already saw a future at that time in the metaverse. And so if we look at those companies, and I'll mention a few, there's Meta, there's Decentraland, who just sold some real estate, virtual real estate, and it was over $2.5 million US. And it just shows you the kind of money that's been done on transactions. So the world of the metaverse is any virtual world or any real world that we can convert into a virtual space. So we could take the V&A waterfront in Cape Town, for example, and we could build a metaverse, and we can start all the different shops, and we can actually start selling the real estate in the metaverse. And then this is the kind of the future that we could start seeing. We just saw very recently Microsoft bought for $68 billion US Activision Blizzard, which is a gaming type thing. So you can see they really want to get the technology, and it's all the big players. It's the Metas, it's the Facebooks, and of course Apple themselves. And Apple have been very, very quiet at the moment, but on their app, one of the best-selling items on their app was, in fact, the Oculus headset. So that says a lot in terms of where this whole future is going. So if you probably heard of non-fungible tokens, and that really is anything that lives on blockchain that you can convert, and it could be from your Facebook page to various little items which have anything intellectual property, and that you can trade and that you can sell online. And we saw not so long ago crypto kitties, and there's only one crypto kitty out there, and it sold for $170,000 US. And the big one, of course, was Beeple, sold for $69 million. And so that's where all these things are going. So where is the metaverse applicable? And this is where I'm going to make it far more practical for you, so that you can understand. So essentially the big difference, and it is not a new technology, it is how we use the technology. And I think that's the critical point. It's how we use it. How we use this one is a static way of doing it. And when I'll take you a little bit later on a demo into our space, and you can actually see. So the big difference is people, and most importantly, how they interact. It's about places, and where you got a bespoke place built in an environment that depicts your company or your brand or whatever it may be. And it's about things and objects, and that's where the NFTs and all those kind of things come in. And many people are saying, well, the metaverse is going to replace websites. Now, I mean, isn't that going to be massive? I mean, you don't need a website, because everything that the website can do, you can do in the metaverse and more. And so if Facebook is changing the way that things are going to be on social media, and metaverse is the top of their list, then I can tell you that the way that you're going to interact on Facebook, and it won't be next year, it probably won't be in 2 years, probably be about 3, 4, 5 years time, would be in the metaverse. So social media will change significantly. So if we look at it in basic terms, it could be a better website, a better experience. people, places, and things for a deeper, more memorable experience. And it's an immersive environment, meaning that we can move around. And whereas in this particular environment, some of you might not even be listening to me. You might be on your WhatsApp, you might be on Facebook, you might be, well, many of you are watching on Facebook, of course, but you're distracted. And this, unfortunately, this kind of technology, well, this current, and I'm talking about Zoom in particular, which we've used very successfully, is that kind of technology where you can get distracted. The metaverse, you're immersed in this technology. And the one that we on is Spatial Web, which was built by South Africans for Americans, and it's owned by a company called Vatom Inc. And it really is, and I'm going to show you a little bit later, how it looks like and how you can understand it. So it means you can move around different multiverses, which means we can move from one universe to another universe, and we can switch to different environments, and it really is unbelievable. And I'll show you a little bit later. So really, it extends the web to enable scalable and secure online social spaces with dynamic, interactive digital objects. And of course, I'm going to be showing you via the share screen on Zoom. So sometimes the screen might be a little bit slow when I do demo at the end. What you can also do is add in any kind of plugin. So any plugins could be a digital wallet where we start transacting. There could be, we could create anything. I mean, we could create a dog or we could create a human being that walks around in augmented reality type environment. We could create any object that you could convert into something real. So we could take, for example, a voucher from Hershey's and say, claim your 10% discount in store, and we can give you an NFT for that, where you could go claim. We could build an architecture of a Hershey store and where we can go shopping virtually and buy real-time products in that particular environment where we go shopping. It has extensive analytics, and it boggles in terms of what are the analytics that you're looking for, and is typically the analytics that we can get for you. So essentially, and I don't want to carry on too long because I want to rather leave it open for questions, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions from everybody there normally is. But before I do that, I'm going to just show you a demo. But so the multiverse really is, and the metaverse is many universe, or the multiverse is many universes. So really the metaverse allows you to move from in the multiverse, which is really fundamentally a new canvas for human integration. So just when some of you just managed to work out Zoom, along comes the metaverse.
Yeah.
And let me tell you what, the beautiful thing is it's web-based. There's no apps, nothing like that. You can access it via your phone. You can access it. It's easily accessible. There's one URL. So every company will get their URL and people can come in, and I'll demo a little bit later. But for those of you who are interested, it's on our website. You can rei.co.za. If you are interested in building or actually getting, you just go onto the REI website, and you can just view our virtual world, and you can actually schedule a demo, which I can show you at any time.